of COVID-19. That story is on page 13. COVID-19 update. Noguchi free for real-time COVID-19 test. That story is on page 12. And finally, government supports media with 5,000 PPE. That story is on page 13. And there's a visual there on your right-hand side on what not to do when you have on the mask. Okay, so don't eat with your mask on, and don't attach your phone to the mask, because if the virus is on your mask, you transfer it to your phone. We'll now take a look at the Informer newspaper. On the front page of the Informer, we have enforcement of COVID-19 restriction law. Police breach constitution, indulge in selective justice. We'll be taking a look at that story shortly, and it's on page 3. As government starves NCCE of resources, war against COVID-19 in danger. It's coming from civil society, and that story is on page 4. We'll now take a look at the new crusading guide. GCB to raise 3 billion cedis to support hospitality industry. Others, Akufo-Addo assures. That story is on pages 3 and 10. Traditional leaders not above COVID-19 protocol. That's coming from the National House of Chiefs. And we'll now take a look at the Chronicle. On the front page of the Chronicle, we have work on Pokwase interchange on course. Mahama's claim on press freedom false. Okay, that's coming from Suleimana Brahima. And U.S. military case thrown out. Ghana to see decline of COVID-19 soon. That's coming from the Ghana Health Service, and that story is on pages 2, 3, and 8. We'll now take a look at the Finder. COVID-19 infections at peak. Decline depends on adherence to prevention protocols. That story is on page 2. Adongo's accusations against Osafo-Maafo baseless. That's coming from Honorable Carlos Ahenkra, Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. We'll now take a look at the Custodian. Apologize to Osafo-Maafo over Unipass, Carlos Ahenkra to Adongo. Wrong use of Veronica buckets could spread COVID-19. It's coming from a UDS research, and that story is on page 2. Supreme Court clears Ken on $2.25 billion bond issuance, throws out NDC's Bojat Jemfi. That story is on page 3. We'll now take a look at the Herald. Childhood indiscipline and tattoos got new ACCRA Pemhene rejected. Attorney General Gloria Kufuor's active role revealed. Government shuts down MTN office over coronavirus measures, but allows ACCRA Pem cane makers walk free. Hey, we'll now take a look at the Daily Statesman. On the front page of the Daily Statesman, we have Supreme Court dismisses $2.25 billion Eurobond suit. That story is on page 3. Let's not toil in vain. Health Minister appeals to Ghanaians to adjust lifestyle in COVID-19 fight. That story is on page 2. We'll now take a look at our final newspaper, the Publisher. NPP slams Adra Safo over lies against Okwe. That story is on page 2. Finance Minister cleared of conflict of interest. That story is on page 3 of the Publisher. We'll now take a look at some online stories from citynewsroom.com. On citynewsroom.com, we have stop disgraceful politicization of COVID-19 issues. That's coming from the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council to NDC and NPP. Okay, speed up COVID-19 testing with gene expert lab scientist to government. COVID-19, Ghana not yet at its peak. Expect more cases. That's coming from a biostatistician. Ignore fake letter on selection of Mahama's running mate. It's coming from the NDC. COVID-19, over 200 persons awaiting second negative test to be discharged. That's coming from the Ghana Health Service. We'll now take a look at some business news from citybusinessnews.com. On citybusinessnews.com, we have food prices to keep rising due to impact of COVID-19. That's coming from Isoko. MTN to intensify social distancing measures after closure of Dansoman office. ECG works to rectify anomalies for prepaid users yet to enjoy relief package. Eunice Ankoma writes, CSR beyond corporate philanthropy in a global crisis. First National Bank acquires GHL Bank. We'll now take a look at some more local news from myjoyonline.com. And of course, you can get all of your news from citynewsroom.com and all your business news from citybusinessnews.com. On My Joy Online, we have Ghana has reached peak of COVID-19 infection curve. That's coming from the Ghana Health Service. Again, you can get all of your news from citynewsroom.com and all of your business news from citybusinessnews.com. Now, throughout the news review, we want to hear from you. So wherever you're watching us from, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily. And if you want to reach us directly, our WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. I have been joined by Joyce Bawa Mokhtari, who's a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Thank you so much for being with us.
An absolute pleasure.
I also have Fati Abubakar, who's the Deputy Director of Communications at the Presidency. Good morning, Fati.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being with us. Okay, let's take a look at our first story. I'm reading from citynewsroom.com, and it says, stop disgraceful politicization of COVID-19 issues. That's coming from the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council to NDC and NPP. The Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council want politicization of Ghana's COVID-19 situation to cease immediately. According to the GPCC, engaging in such actions in these critical moments will negatively affect the nation's fight against the spread of the virus. There have been public concerns over how the two major political parties, the governing New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, are conducting themselves by way of comments on Ghana's COVID-19 situation. Bishop Samuel Noy-Mensah, an executive member of GPCC, described the behavior of the two political parties as unpatriotic, disgraceful, and called for an end to such acts. I'm going to quote him. He says, COVID-19 has no respect for people, politics, or prestige, and therefore this is the moment we all have to rally behind one leader and to find how we can really deal with this global enemy that has attacked our society and our world and have really brought everything to a standstill. So for those two major political parties to turn it into partisan politics, it is embarrassing, it is disgraceful, the timing is wrong, and that is why we are calling on them to cease fire. We know that on a Facebook interaction, the former President John Dramani Mahama described the country as being an intensive care unit. The Vice President came out to also critique the former President on how he handled the country when it was under his leadership. Yesterday, we heard from the Information Minister, Kojo Oppong-Koma, when he says that we shouldn't only call for de-escalation of politics on COVID-19 when government responds to the minority. And finally, we are hearing from the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council that both political parties should cease fire and focus on the pandemic that we're dealing with. So, Fatih, I'll start with you on this.
Okay, Jiffa, once again, good morning, and good morning to my sister Joyce and your cherished viewers. I believe from the 11th March, since the President of the Republic, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, started with his live broadcasting address, there was no point in time, not even once, that the president sought to politicize the issues concerning COVID-19. If anything at all, the approach that the president had and the posturing and his demeanor sought to bring all Ghanaians on board so that we'll be able to deal with this common enemy heads on. And also recognizing that this is not a fight that one single individual can fight alone. That also led to a decision like setting up the National Trust Fund for COVID-19 and selecting some very respected Ghanaians to be part of the Trust Fund committee. So at no point in time can the issue of politicization of COVID-19 issues emanate from the President of the Republic and the leader of the ruling government. It never happened.
What about the Vice President?
I'm coming to that. However, this is the situation whereby the former President, John Dramani Mahama, did some Facebook broadcasts. Even before then, he had sought to tell Ghanaians that, especially on the issue of economy, that our economy is in ICU, it's on ventilators. And given the opportunity, he could have done better with the management of COVID-19. Not just that. The former president is saying that the president has not done enough. And that has been repeated from the setting up of their technical committee, from their press conferences, subsequent broadcasts, saying that the government has not done enough. In fact, the former president even told Ghanaians that Senate could have given some monies to some of the contributors of the Senate Fund as mitigating factors to deal with COVID-19. Not just that. The General Secretary of the NDC, when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo introduced restrictions, he granted an interview stating that the President has introduced those restrictions only to connive with the Electoral Commission to rig elections. So from the word go, even before the Vice President made any comments, the NDC had sought to reduce every effort of government to nothing, as if government has not achieved anything in this crisis, and to suggest to Ghanaians that they would have done better. And this is a team led by a former president, not just any flag bearer. We as Ghanaians, or ordinary Ghanaians, would only have the benefit of checking the former president and his capacity to deal with crisis management.
But is this the time to do that?
Based on his own track record, based on his own track record in crisis management. And I'm saying that the import of the issue or the focus has been on economic crisis, not necessarily doomsday or COVID-19. Ghanaians are struggling because of COVID-19. Ghanaians were struggling because of doomsday. That is what he seeks to say. And he's saying that our economy does not have the capacity to support or give the kind of mitigation measures that we want at the moment.
But at a time where the nation is
if you will let me land, not just that. The former president went to the extent of stating that other African countries can be used as examples, citing that just 3 weeks of lockdown, we have lifted lockdown. We don't have the capacity or our economy lack the muscle to hold the nation together at this moment. And we have subsequently gone to IMF. And he was saying other African countries can be used as examples. He mentioned our neighboring Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, seeking to state that these countries did not go to IMF for any assistance. It turned out, minutes after his broadcast, that all those statements were false. With his stature, with his experience in politics, by virtue of the office that the former president has held, he ought to have known that these countries have gone to IMF for assistance. And those assistance have already been broadcasted and they've been published on sites like Bloomberg and other credible news sources. So if you have a child who is a bully at school, and the child seeks to threaten or harm other kids, and you say nothing about it, when the child meets his meter or her meter, you will lose the moral right to to say that no, you shouldn't have fought my child because you think your child is losing. That is the import of the situation. Even as it stands now, every opportunity I get on any platform, I seek to do one thing, to remind Ghanaians that this challenge is bigger than us. It's not only Ghana that is facing COVID-19 problems. The American economy has dropped by 5%. In fact, they compared that since 1986, this is like the worst performing year for the American economy. The UK economy is suffering. Even economies that have the capacity to even give us our entire budget for a year, they are suffering. So what shows that a country like Ghana, a developing country like Ghana, without the anticipation or the benefit of knowing from last year that COVID-19 will come, would not need any assistance whatsoever. So if the former president is coming to Equity, he must come with clean hands. And you cannot come and throw words about and throw facts that turn out to be untrue about just to try to denigrate the efforts of the president and say that we shouldn't try to dig into your own efforts during a crisis situation.
Okay.
That won't happen. And he got a befitting response from the vice president.
Thank you very much, Joyce. The Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council is asking both political parties to cease fire and focus on the pandemic that we have on our hands.
Well, thank you very much, Jifra, and thank you very much to all of you here at City. Good morning to the beautiful people of Ghana. I do hope we're observing the COVID-19 protocols, washing our hands, social distancing. I think physical distancing is actually important too. And of course, do wear a mask if you have to go out. Thank you very much for having me. You know, I think that when you hear the kettle calling the pot black, it makes you shudder, it makes you wonder, it makes you shake your head. I recall, and sometimes the historical context of our conversations will bring to the fore and lay bare the real facts that we have at hand. At least I'm yet to hear anybody in the NDC or on the side of the NDC calling on anybody to be sure that they do not bring coronavirus to Ghana and to compare by any standard issues to do with power outages as against a health hazard or pandemic of this kind. I think is at best ludicrous. I think we can do better. Secondly, may I put on record once more that the sheer disrespect, the sheer effrontery, that when people dare to criticize government or government's handling or government's machinations or its pronouncements, then it calls for needless criticism or needless insults or trying to bring people's personalities into some form of disrepute. I think is shameful. Let me state for the record that the very first individual who even tried to comment on a certain nationalistic outlook regarding the handling of this pandemic was President John Dramani Mahama. Indeed, he had even indicated at the time that we were not in normal times. He compared this pandemic to the outbreak of SARS, to MERS, and of course even likened it to what Ebola had done to our neighboring countries at the time. Jifa, please go back to the annals of history. Check on the records what the then opposition, led by His Excellency President Adudan Akufo-Addo, did at the time, just as the communicators continue to do. I have met Fati on many occasions, and I've told her that we need to bring this conversation down to the level where we show optimum sympathy, empathy with the people who are suffering from this virus. It is a global virus that has claimed so many lives. In the final analysis, when we start to count the costs and the loss, and when we quote copiously from countries, good examples about the economies not faring well, the same United States of America that you so loudly and eloquently praise has actually been sending out unemployment checks to its citizens. 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment. That is the level that they have attained despite the crisis. Fortunately, we did not suffer from the scourge of Ebola. But unfortunately, we have, to a certain extent, suffered our fair share from coronavirus. When you talk about personal protective equipment, the world over there are complaints. In some jurisdictions about waste, in others about lack of it. In others, even because of challenges with the whole value chain, shipments and shipping and all of that, delays even in delivering. Yesterday, there was a beautiful story on BBC. Lathmore University has a student who has returned to campus and is developing face masks. He sent out 10,000 of them yesterday to share to people who needed them. I want to hear more of such stories. Indeed, immediately in the aftermath, when we had come out very brazenly to assure every good citizen that everything is being done. You know, we are riding on the back of a certain context, of a conversation that started from telling us that we had one of the most robust economies.
Yeah.
You know, I shudder. And I don't want really for a morning like this to be drawn into such a caustic political conversation. And I say this without fear of any equivocation, that I will personally not want to reduce this conversation to needless politicization. But if we're talking about giving people responses, you know I can give out a spade or two and throw just as many salvos. But on a morning like this, I'm listening to a conversation about the numbers, and I'm thanking God that for some strange reason, Ghanaians have an even more resilient human anatomy or resilience to this disease than even the economy that we had hitherto touted as being one of the very best. Yesterday, I listened to Joe Biden speak about how we cannot work to isolate matters to do with the loss of lives to economics and the economy, largely because the human cost would by all means affect our economic outlook. These are deep conversations that need to engage us at this time, more than the sort of conversation about managing power outages. If on any morning, I'm sure any Ghanaian the world over would prefer to sleep with a lantern or a kerosene lamp, or even to sleep in darkness and suffer the heat. But to say that you develop coronavirus, lose your life, is not something that anybody should be wishing for, not on any day, irrespective of where we stand on politics. If this is about touting credentials of leaders, then of course we should then be celebrating a leader who was in charge at a time when Ebola had broken out. Other jurisdictions, other countries to offer support. Ghanaians were called upon not to bring resources for government to decide how to spend, but Ghanaians shared whatever we had with neighboring countries, because this was not a matter that was strictly to do with just Ghanaians, but the world at large, especially Africa that had been worse hit. As we scramble for better testing, as we scramble for more, a vaccine, I look forward to us coming here one morning with a conversation about our research facilities and what they are doing to contribute to this conversation about finding a sustainable cure to this virus. I think sometimes we belittle the intelligence of the good people of Ghana when we seek to pretend to hide behind the shield of having a very, a certain outlook that when government is criticized, that all types of criticism should not be seen as constructive or be seen as unacceptable. I think it is a responsibility of the citizens who are not necessarily in government to criticize, to put government on its toes, to ensure that government is doing what is right by the good people of Ghana. If 3 months ago, Ghana had an economy that was robust and vibrant, beyond anybody's wildest dreams, that we had never seen an economy of this kind as a people, then wherein lies this debate if President Mahama says that a few weeks after, do you remember the Senchi Accord? The same people then in opposition questioned even the import, the need to call for a bipartisan approach. And Jifa, I make no bones about the fact that I personally would have called and touted His Excellency President Akufo-Addo if at the inception of this pandemic he had approached this matter with a bipartisan outlook.
You don't think he did?
I don't think he did.
How?
Because he set up the National Fund, first and foremost, and all the trustees, distinguished individuals by no means. But certainly he did not reach out to the other side. First. So I think that
But you
shows.
called all political parties to come together.
Don't worry about that. I think that was an afterthought. And we
so
live
you
in
don't
Ghana.
think
I don't think it was an afterthought. And since then, what has happened? Even in Parliament, we don't have a bipartisan way. Certainly, they would sit on matters to do with the bills that come before Parliament. Note, even the same country whose economy was so robust 3 months ago had cause to lead to a debate on whether or not to use the Heritage Fund or the Stabilization Fund. These are not normal times. Even in the best of places, with the very best health systems, this disease has brought them to their knees.
So shouldn't this be the time for the former president to empathize with the current president and understand why we would even need the support of the IMF, as opposed to, bringing it down to the level of saying the countries are under ice? Because you've rightly mentioned that far developed countries are even struggling right now. So shouldn't the opposition had empathized with the current situation that the government is dealing with as far as the pandemic is concerned?
Do you remember that on the very first occasion, in the aftermath of His Excellency the President addressing the nation and admitting that this was a virus that nobody has seen before, that Ghanaians would have to help him to fight the novel coronavirus that had actually hit us all and taken us all by surprise? I remember a few weeks later, there were calls that there were inadequate PPEs in the system. What President Mahama did at the time was to find well-meaning Ghanaians to help support an initiative to donate these equipments across the country. I don't remember him calling on hospitals that had anything to do with the NDC, for that matter. And I remember that those items were very well received. What happened a few weeks later? Letters were flying all over the place from the Ghana Health Service, transferring most of the persons who had received some of these items. There are individuals who are very... As we speak, we have continued to make these donations, continue to reach out to persons who need them, especially where they have been received. Note that the Ladina Foundation, which is run by President Mahama's wife, so they have graciously always made them available for us. In some cases even, we have had to pay for them. I think beyond that, we should know and acknowledge where there is need to do so. But let's remember that government must note that criticism is sometimes constructive, but certainly the core that we need not reduce. And of course, look, when His Excellency the President says something and the very next day you meet his communicators, like what he has done this morning, and they come here with this aggression, speak in a manner that sometimes makes you wonder, does Fatih live in a different Ghana from where I live?
I will let you continue that, but on that note, we have to go for a break. This is still Breakfast Daily on City TV. We want to hear from you, so use the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550 585 832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. We'll be right back.
It's here, the Express Pay app. More social, more power, more services. Experience a cooler way of payments with exciting new features. Want to go social? Upload a cool image to add a personal feel to your account. Payments are even more seamless with an enhanced process. Mark some accounts as favorites so they are super easy to access. Even cooler, view payment due dates and check remaining balances for your favorite accounts. Want to repeat a payment? Do that right from the History tab. Have all your money in one place with a sleek look and feel. Bank Direct has had an awesome makeover. You can now send money instantly to 20. Payment simplified.
Welcome back. This is still Breakfast Daily on CCTV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Again, it's an interactive show. We want to hear from you. So wherever you're watching us from, use the hashtag Breakfast Daily for us to hear from you. And the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. I still have with me Joyce Bar Mokhtari, who's the special aide to the former President John Dramani Mahama, and Fatih Abubakar, who's the Deputy Director of Communications at the Presidency. Before the break, we were discussing the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, asking both political parties to cease fire and focus on the pandemic that we are dealing with. We know that, some time ago, the government went to the IMF for some funds. The former president critiqued them that if the economy was so great, we wouldn't need to be, going to the IMF for support. Vice President responded that you can't compare what we're dealing with to, the Mahama administration. Yesterday, the information minister came out to say we can't criticize the vice president for responding to what the former president said, and then the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council is saying ceasefire, focus on the people and the pandemic at hand. And Joyce was just wrapping up for us.
Yes, and so to come back in on my concluding remarks, you recall with the Electoral Commission in particular, even at the time when we were under an executive instrument, that itself spoke on various media. The question was put whether or not they were part of essential staff, of frontline workers who were allowed to continue working. They said they were not, because the law did not cover them, but they were working. You heard last week about a court action that an injunction had to be sought to stop the Electoral Commission even from undertaking a training exercise. This is Ghana for you, where the president preaches and then practices something totally different. Secondly, I remember a matter to do with lack of all of these other amenities. When City FM in particular tried to undertake an exercise with those Ayalolo buses, and government said no, we were also going to do it, we will take over. Those buses were branded. We had seen photographs all over the place. When the churches were sharing food across the country, who was it who said they should stop? It was government, and that they will lead it. If the churches had anything, let's donate. The Honorable Minister Husseini is leading a request for transparency and accountability in the management and disbursement of the COVID-19 fund and account, because government had submitted a guideline to Parliament on how they were going to be utilizing those funds. Indeed, the central bank has come under enormous criticism that at a time when the US dollar is almost 5.6% cedis on the international market exchange rates, that we are even now, what are we saying? There was even disagreements about whether or not government was still going to continue with serving warm dishes to the good people of Ghana. Listen, some criticism will come by all means, but I only realize, unfortunately, that each time the criticism comes directly at government, then you find all of these voices that are suddenly coming out to call for a ceasefire and all of that. We are not in government. The spotlight is not on the NDC or on the NDC's flag bearer. Most of the spotlight at this time is on government. Sometimes I shudder to think. Yesterday, for example, I scanned the media landscape and I reserved very interesting comments. Note that this week, the CDD has come up with some research that was done, that 72% of Ghanaians do not think that the media is able to undertake its duties freely, etc. I'm not sure what went into that debate or what went into that research, but I would have expected a more robust conversation around the subject matter. But I'm still waiting to see it. Let's remember one thing. What is good for the goose is also good for the gander.
What would it take for both political parties to cease fire and say, well, both?
A good example is this morning I arrived here basically to discuss coronavirus, to encourage the good people of Ghana, to ensure that our frontline workers have adequate supplies, that our numbers indeed are actually coming down, and hopefully there'll be no new cases. I wasn't looking forward to a debate about who deserved a more caustic response from government. When you're in government, you need to be more tolerant. Look at the posturing even of the information minister yesterday. If not for politics, I'm sure President Mahama can be your father. If we are calling for a ceasefire, let our actions show that we intend to abide by a ceasefire. Because politics is not a repository of any other human being. I believe that in fact, but for politics, how did our vice president become a public figure. And when you listen to him that day, was this a response to former President Mahama? It was a political gimmick, taking a cue from his boss, His Excellency the President, who actually came out to tell us that he was going to go out there and construct. In fact, the debate started because the President said he was going to construct 94 new hospitals. So the questions were then being asked. Were they going to be district hospitals, regional hospitals, CHIPS compounds, in the space of 7 months to the election? You know, look, when you start a fight, be sure to know that you will get adequate responses. Okay. In fact, in the whole response from government so far, I think that they have even been better exposed. That indeed the economy was not as robust as they touted, that indeed the country was not in good health as they touted, but of course now seeking to take advantage of coronavirus to gag every other voice of dissent. I don't think, note, even the economists, a leading world mouthpiece, you can't call them NDC or MPP. They have indicated how governments are trying to take away from rights of their citizens by trying to reduce and fetter human rights. Secondly, by trying to gag opposing voices under the guise of fighting coronavirus. And thirdly, trying very hard to indicate or stop other voices from commenting. The call by the Ghana Pentecostal Council is a fantastic call, but I believe the buck stops with those who are in government.
Thank you very much for that. Fatih, I'll give you a chance to respond
okay.
to everything, and then we'll move on to our next topic.
Okay, Jifa, interestingly, I went through Joyce's Facebook post to check what she's been posting. And I found out that she even shared President Mahama's comments about COVID, Ghana being, the economy being in ICU because of COVID-19. You know, I think Joyce and the NDC cannot preach virtue and practice vice. So all the advice that she has given this morning, the first beneficiary should have been the former president, in all honesty. Because even among journalists, everybody would say for a fact that this issue about politicization at the top level emanated from the former president. And we cannot lose sight of that fact. Then again, she spoke about sleeping in heat being better than contracting COVID-19, which also brings the point that the NDC is trying to suggest that nobody died from doomso in the entire 4 years. You can check from the Ghana Health Service or some of the hospitals whether people died from carbon monoxide poisoning between 2012 to 2016. It is a matter of fact and a matter of public record that many media houses reported people who, for fear of their generators being stolen, kept their generators being indoors because of doomso and died out of poisoning.
How many people were
so,
there?
Many people. I can give you sites and then you check the stories. So when the former president seeks to say that he would have managed this crisis better, especially his reference has always been about how the economy is doing. And we are saying that I can say that from March to April 2020, the kind of measures that President Akufo-Addo has given to mitigate the suffering of Ghanaians are more than what President Mahama ever gave from 2012 to 2016 due to the doomso era. And I'm not just saying that. Look, the lost 250 million Ghana cedis due to doomso. And for every single month, we lost productivity for up to 10%. And 50 businesses folded up. This is a research body, not NPP or any other political party which may not be able to give an objective opinion. As the NDC says that, oh, there should be transparency in the disbursement of 600 million from government and what have you. How much did President Mahama and the NDC disburse to businesses in the time of doomso? If they disbursed anything, they should give us the figures. We will go and check. And then they talk about infrastructure, which Joyce has repeated here. How many hospitals did they build in their first term? 2009 to 2012. How many health infrastructure did they put in place? You know, this is President Akufo-Addo's first term. And in this first term, President Akufo-Addo has been able to implement many flagship policies that many government thought were impossible, especially with the NDC. They sponsored many adverts that President Akufo-Addo cannot implement free SHS. He can't do it. He has done it anyways. He is paying people who lost their funds during the banking sector reforms.
Please
we are in the
yes.
I'll do that shortly. And then COVID-19 has also reared its head. When you were faced with economic challenges under Dumso, you cut nurses training allowances, you cut teacher training allowances, even waivers that were given to doctors at the ports. You removed those waivers from importation from the doctors. So when your compatriot or your contender or competitor is able to put in these measures within this short period of time, I think the least the NDC can do is first of all to commend the president. The president has not lost focus on the fight against COVID-19 and has not apportioned time to respond to anybody. But time and again, when you speak and you seek to criticize and punch and say that I could have done better, you are not a new candidate. Also be good enough to accept criticism from people who want to say that during your time you did not do any better. In fact, you didn't do much. So it is also fair, as they expect that we accept criticisms. I don't see how difficult it is that the NDC is all over the place, because Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has also said that, okay, during your time, what were the things you did to mitigate Dumso? Where are the figures? If you're a journalist, the city, you have a whole archive of what happened between 2012 and 2016. Where are the things that they did to mitigate the suffering of Ghanaians?
Okay. Thank you very much.
A very quick rebuttal.
Okay.
Note that the pharmaceutical companies received $40+ million from government at the time to augment their businesses. Many SMEs received various reliefs, and you can cross-check. These are matters of public.
They should be quantified, not just in a vacuum. How much? How much did they receive?
How much? The 280 million that was designated for feeding food. You saw the videos. How much warm food was given out? And we sit here and tout what? You know.
Maybe if I should do a fact check on the things she's saying that the NDC, because there was no sector.
We'll check.
To each his own.
Okay.
President Mahama had to deal with Dumso.
Okay.
Go and check
what was the bill? What was the package for the SMEs?
When President Kufuor faced Dumso, what did he do? He went and commissioned a project known as the Bui Dam to augment the work of the Akosombo hydraulic dam. When President Mahama became president, when Professor Mills arrived, know that Bui Dam had not been completed. That project was completed by that administration. Under President Mahama, go and check. 100 megawatts of power. How much does that cost? When you are faced with a challenge as a leader, this is not the time to be boastful. The boastfulness is what I think has created this challenge that we should not criticize. They had a mouth at the time to criticize, and loudly, Jifa. Please cross-check.
Okay.
And next time we come here,
but if our President is the most vilified politician in our contemporary politics, he can also be Joyce's father. He can also be the father of some of the NDC.
And there we go. Thank you very much. We still have a pandemic we're dealing with, so let's focus on COVID and connected to COVID.
The manner in which I speak, even when I speak about President Akufo-Addo, and listen to the tone of Fati.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you both very much.
The difference is very clear. Your audience is out there.
Thank you very much.
Now.
Thank you. So still on COVID-19, respecting social distancing and matters arising from that. I'm reading from page 3 of the Informer. It says, enforcement of COVID-19 restrictions law, police breach constitution, indulge in selective justice. So Ghana Police Service has, in clear breach of the 1992 Republican Constitution of Ghana, decided to selectively apply the laws of the land on the basis of social status, religion, ethnic and other considerations regarding the enforcement of the COVID-19 restriction law. Just recently, 2 pastors were arrested, prosecuted and jailed for violating the president's lawful orders against large gatherings. Furthermore, scores of people are currently being prosecuted for similar offenses. Ironically enough, when kingmakers of the ACCRA traditional area in the eastern region over the weekend decided to throw the restriction law to the dogs and recklessly install and install a certain Odishie Kwadwo Kese as the ACCRA hene, The police said they could not effect the arrest of the main kingmakers because of the volatile security situation in the area. So, Fatih, I'll start with you on this topic. You know, we've had pastors arrested, market people arrested, and yet this situation happens in Kriapem. Let me read this here.
Which newspaper is that?
The Informer. So this situation happens with, and the video actually went viral on social media, where you saw people not respecting, saying that there's a practice of selective justice when it comes to the social distancing order.
I am aware that about 4 kingmakers were arrested. I saw it in one of the news bulletins in the media. I don't know whether that arrest preceded this incident or afterwards. But you know, there's been instances where you see men in uniform amongst people and you don't know whether they have the authorization of their superiors or not. So I believe since this information has come to the fore, by now the police service will also be conducting their internal investigations as to whether these men in uniform found themselves there and how they can deal with them if they flout the law. But I saw in one of the news bulletins that some kingmakers were actually arrested and subsequently granted bail. But that does
what do you make of the police saying that there's a volatile security situation in that area in particular, and that's why they may be hesitant to actually arrest people?
That is why I'm saying that with the police, if they had lawful authority to be there, maybe there is cause for them to weigh which one was a priority as at that time. If they are breaching the law, if first of all they need to check whether it will lead to some violent situation and then deal with the COVID issues. But as I said, we don't have we need further and better particulars on the issue. The information is too scanty, and I cannot base on just that information to talk about what the police service is doing if they themselves have not granted any press conference. But I believe by now this issue has come to their notice and we may hear from them. But I think that as Ghanaians, we all need to commit to respecting the imposition of restriction acts and other safety protocols that the government and stakeholders have announced.
So there should be no discrimination based on
not at all. I don't condone that. So when I heard of the arrests, I was excited that some action had actually been taken. But since I was not privileged to know other decisions by the police service, I was not in haste to give a conclusive comment when I'm not aware of the actions being taken.
Well, thank you very much. I believe that the manner in which government under the president set out to govern in the face of the pandemic was to pass the Imposition of Restriction Act of 2020. The act actually allows for individuals who flout this legislation to be fined between 12,000 to 5,000, that is about 1,000 to 5,000 penalty units, which translates into about 12,000 Ghana cedis and more, or even in the absence of that, serve a jail term. For most people, really, they believe that the fines were actually very punitive and that some adjustments are required under the circumstances. And when you watch the fact that the president himself had cause to relax the lockdown, judging by the challenges to do with trying to feed so many vulnerable people who must go out to seek their daily bread, there must have been a very good reason why he lifted the lockdown at the time when he did, because this is not a society that a lockdown would be serving any useful purpose. I've heard about some arrests, I've heard about some fines, I've heard a lot of lawyers even criticize the manner in which this is being done. I pray that, like many of the things that we've been told so far, that we dare not criticize, that we dare not say that something is not right, that we must celebrate any action taken because we are government and we are in charge. I think that in the same way, we should be careful that we are not reducing the Imposition of Restrictions Act to a selective one. I also heard about the installation of a chief. I've seen some photographs on social media. I did not glean from those photographs that they were even conscious of the social distancing principles. It is actually interesting that there's a headline this morning actually telling us that the House of Chiefs is not exempt from the ambit or remit of this law. I think that is telling enough, and I would add nothing further.
Thank you very much. We'll take a look at our final story. I'm reading from page 2 of the Daily Statesman. It says, Communications Minister shuts MTN office at Dansoman down. So the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government, as part of measures to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus disease in Ghana, has put several measures in place in line with standard international protocols. Some of the measures include ban on public gatherings and a directive to all businesses to ensure their customers adhere to all safety protocols in fighting the pandemic. To ensure this works in her sector and constituency, the Minister for Communication, Ursula Owusu, yesterday shut down Dansoman Zodiac office of telecommunications firm MTN. And I'm going to quote what she said. So she says, this is the scene at the MTN office in the now video that has circulated all over social media. At Dansoman Zodiac right now, absolutely no respect for social distancing. They have been shut down and will not be allowed to operate until they have better arrangements in place. A reputable corporate organization like this should not be flouting the law and creating conditions for the virus to spread. She goes on to say, it is not a joke. I do not know why you are here, but it's more that, but is that more important than your life? So she was telling this to the people who were there. So she first addressed the MTN office itself and then addressed the people who are there that they are joking with the social distancing protocols. They shouldn't be out there. And obviously that office was shut down. MTN has come out to respond and said that they will do right to abide by the social distancing protocols and ensure that this doesn't happen in future. Fatty.
Yes, I saw the video and I saw the post. I believe as Ghanaians we should all speak true to our colleagues. MTN is a big institution. As much as the government has responsibility to ensure everybody's safety, if there are some etiquettes that as individuals and institutions we are also supposed to do not to jeopardize the lives of our customers or anybody at our workers, we need to take that responsibility and make sure the right thing is done. I saw the way the headline is portraying is not necessarily how the content is, because I also saw the minister's Facebook post.
In the video.
Yes. She was speaking passionately because this is a serious issue that can lead to the death of some people. And if you saw the pictures, some of them were not even wearing nose masks. On top of that, they were not ensuring social distancing protocol. And the manager of the branch was the one that the MP and minister was speaking to. So for such an institution, I believe they should have put some measures in place that will trickle down to the very bottom, to their base, so that they will do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, if people that, it's not out of hate or anything, because these are the same networks that the government has given extra spectrum so that they will be able to do their work well. But even in the face of that, we should be able to do the right thing. And last but not the least, I want to correct an impression that government is not against criticisms. As I said earlier, President Akufo-Addo is the most vilified politician in our contemporary political lives. But he himself, I believe he has a thick skin for it. He said that Ghanaians should be citizens and not spectators. And we always welcome criticisms. But if you're a candidate and you criticize, you also should expect other people to have the right to also criticize.
Thank you very much, Patty. Joyce, on this issue of MTN and the communications minister going there to, educate them on social distancing protocols.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sure that this is not in doubt. We saw the videos. We all call on everybody, citizens, everybody, to try as much as possible to do same. I think it was a body language really that really didn't look right to me, and I don't want to belabor the point. I think that irrespective of the fact that even when you educate people, how you do it might actually get you better results. I think that EXCISE has gradually become very notorious. There is a certain, I don't know what it is, but there's something that I find a bit uncomfortable about her pronouncements, about her posturing. I think that all that energy could have been tailored into a more accepting way of sitting quietly and encouraging them on what to do and how to do it. You can even try to discipline your child even in a very loving voice. There's passion and there's also a certain derision. So I'm not quite sure which one she was trying to do. But I think that it kind of took something away from that outburst for me personally. And I think I don't speak for anybody here, but this is how I see it. You can do it every day. You've done it beautifully on your station. When I arrived there, they asked me if I had a mask and all of that. And of course, coming back to vilification, he who vilifies should be happy and acceptable that if they've received similar vilification too, be the last to cast a stone if you live in a glass house. That is how I would like to end this conversation.
Thank you very much, Fatty and Joyce, for being with us. We have some messages from our viewers. Good morning, Jifa. If nothing is done concerning the installation of chiefs, then I believe the pastor charged to pay 14,000 or serve 4 years in jail must be set free. Fusaini from Asaman Kesa says, good morning, host and your panelists. Host, we are where we are because the government has added lies and inept in fighting COVID-19. President Baumia and his lies, deceit. Okay, you guys are good. Since when do the GPCC find their voice? Let us be honest. Where were they during their doom? So, okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for your messages. Up next, we're going to learn how to do Zoom calls. And thank you both for being with us this morning.
That's good. It's the Venerable Otumfo's birthday.
Oh, okay.
So happy birthday to His Royal Majesty. And of course, to you, this very beautiful, elegant lady too.
Happy birthday to you, Jifa. Happy birthday to the Otumfo.
Happy birthday to Otumfo. Judge Mokhtar is the special aide to the former President John Dramani Mahama, and of course, Fatty Abubakar is the Deputy Director of Communications at the Presidency. Don't go anywhere. We're going to learn how to make Zoom calls right after these messages.
I think I'll follow you.
There is nothing as hard as a diamond. For buildings with superior strength that withstand all weather conditions, Diamond Cement should be your preferred choice. Locate Diamond Cement nationwide with factories in Aflao, Takoradi and Bupe. Diamond Cement, as hard as a diamond.
There is no promise we cannot keep. There is no commitment we cannot honor. There is no delivery we cannot guarantee. There is only one Bethel Logistics Company Limited, a licensed international freight forwarding and clearing agent, a trusted global brand with an extensive network for the movement of air freight and ocean freight worldwide. We are the trusted name for road freight into Western and Northern Africa. We are fully accredited by Ghana Customs and Excise. We cater for all your freight forwarding, customs clearing and forwarding, cross trades, inland transportation, internal cargo tracking systems, customer freight costing and consultancy, cold chain logistics management, logistics and warehousing, quality inspection, and much more. In Accra, Tema, and Takoradi, we are always available to ensure easy movement of cargo countrywide. Call us on 0204 528 900 or 0244 707 859. Email info@bethellogistics.com. Locate us in Accra at North Ridge, adjacent Accra Girls High School, or in Tema at Community 4, or in Takoradi on the second floor of the GCB building. Website bethellogistics.com. BethLOG, experts in shipping logistics.
Imagine if you can get all the understanding on some of the difficult subjects you struggle with in school. As a student, do you feel dissatisfied with how hard it is to figure out the subjects you're learning? Or as a parent or guardian, do you worry that your child is struggling to understand some of the subjects in school? Well, now you don't need to sign up for extra lessons or tutors. Simply tune in to Class Act, Mondays to Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. on City TV. Class Act is a show that seeks to enable senior high school students gain a much better understanding of what they learn in school. All you need is a TV, a chair, your notebook, and your pen. Get clarity on subjects such as maths, English, IT, and science. Class Act airs every Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on City TV on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. Don't forget your pens, pencils, and your notebooks and tune in to Class Act, only on City TV.
Ghana is a beautiful country. There is so much of it you probably haven't seen, haven't experienced, haven't touched, haven't felt, haven't eaten. When this is all over, let's discover our land again with new eyes. Let's feel each other again. We are one people, brought together by destiny. Let's make that count. Let's show love for each other and our environment. Let's tell our stories, and let's watch and listen to our stories. There will be so much to tell. Ghana is a truly beautiful country. Be Ghana, stay in Ghana, experience Ghana, make Ghana great. And we will invite the world to come and experience Ghana too. But for now, stay home. Brought to you by the National Film Authority. Supports the Stay Home and Discover Ghana Later campaign. This channel supports the campaign.
God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Welcome to the Consumer Tech segment, and it's going to be interesting this morning because, we're in an era where everything has changed. We're now having to do lots of video calls for various meetings that we need to do, and then for us here as a station, you have a lot of guests who can't come in, and so we do Zoom calls. Now we're going to understand how to properly handle the whole issue of Zoom calls, and I have been joined by Philip Ashong, who is the host of City Trends on City FM 97.3 and also the head of production here at City TV. Good morning, Phil.
No, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Super.
It's been a pretty interesting couple of days dealing with COVID, and one of the things that has helped us weather the storm are video conferencing, mobile apps, and companies like Zoom.
Yeah.
We've known Skype for quite a bit. We've known Google Hangouts for quite a bit as well. Facebook recently also launched an integrated platform where you can join a video conferencing call either through any of their companies, which is either through WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook. But Zoom generally has been or has come out very prominently, and I just want us to watch a quick video just in case people don't know what Zoom is. Basically, this is what Zoom is all about.
All right, let's take a look.
Zoom has revolutionized the way teams communicate. Whether you're connecting multiple conference rooms or meeting with attendees from their desktop or mobile devices, coming together face-to-face is as simple as a single touch. With the highest video and audio quality, bringing your team together on Zoom feels just like you're all in the same room. It's easy for everyone to join on video, which builds trust and engagement, making your team and their meetings more productive. Feature-rich and simple to use, the Zoom mobile and desktop apps bring the whole experience together with built-in cross-platform group chat. Transform your communications experience with Zoom.
All right, so basically that's a general overview of what the Zoom app is.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple app, straightforward app. You know, the whole idea is to get into a meeting with just a click.
Yeah.
Now the thing about Zoom is, it is almost like getting into a real meeting. So there's a preparatory stage for a meeting, and then there's the meeting, and there's everything that happens after the meeting.
Okay.
Now I say this because a lot of people feel that, you know, you just click and just enter the meeting, but it's very, very important to note a few things. Now this guy that you see on your screen, he's Eric Juan, and around 2011 he basically left his job at WebEx, you know, because he worked with Cisco at a point. There was an acquisition of WebEx, and then he was part of it. He rose through the ranks to become the VP for engineering at some point. And he felt at a point that he needed to, like, the WebEx platform, which is also a video conferencing platform, basically wasn't working the way he felt people were using or communicating these days. You know, is it working on mobile? What's the level of integration like across other platforms? And so Eric felt it was time to do something else. So he left WebEx or Cisco and basically set up Zoom Communications or Zoom Video Communications. Now, Zoom is so big a deal that it had over 10 million users in just December 2019.
Wow.
But in between December 2019 and April 2020, the number has shot up to 200 million users.
Wow.
That's how popular the platform is. People today consider it almost as a social media platform instead of a video conferencing platform. Now, it's used for all manner of meetings. People use it for funerals, people use it for weddings, people use it for classes. It's very, very popular for the schools these days. People use it to set up relationships. You know, if they can't meet their better half, or they can't meet somebody, can set up a meeting. People are using it for church services. People are using it for happy hour. You know, you have, you know, some friends in the office, you guys meet up regularly, or your boys. You know, if you can't do that, everybody grab a drink in their house, let's have a Zoom meeting and let's have a big conversation. People use it to see their therapists. You know, people, like I said, funerals and weddings and things like that. So it's used in all manner of ways, and it's really about finding what sort of meeting you want to have and then using the tools available on Zoom to be able to do that. As we saw there as well, it's become very, very popular. You know, 200 million users.
That's a lot of people
who are using the app these days, and I must say that it's just because of how simple the app is. Now, if you are having a conversation for 40 minutes or less, and you have less than 100 people, you can use the app for free. If your meeting will be more than an hour or more than 40 minutes, then you are probably looking at, you know, purchasing or licensing it, or purchasing the pro version of it. If you're going to have more than 100 people on the Zoom call, basically, then you have to pay for it. Apart from that, it's free. So if you have less than 100 people and your meeting is less than 40 minutes, you basically are going to be able to use the app for free. And the interesting thing is, you don't even need to sign on. Someone can send you the link, and then you can basically just join the meeting and you're good to go. One of the things that's been really popular are the virtual backgrounds that you have, for example, for the app, and we'll be seeing a bit of it as well later on. But then it's interesting how Zoom works, because you realize that in a lot of your Zoom calls, it's very rare that, you know, your call is lagging or you can't hear the person. It's because of the way in the back end the bandwidth is managed, you know, based on the number of cell sites and things like that. And the company has invested heavily in making sure that all of that is smooth. Now, somewhere around March 24th, there were a number of privacy issues that came up, Zoom bombing and things like that. Now, it really affected the company, but the company moved very quickly to try to resolve a lot of the issues. So, I mean, for anybody who's watching at home, I would advise that you update your Zoom mobile app or your Zoom app on your computer, because then you get the very latest. And it's very important that you do that, because, you know, it secures you. Now almost every meeting is automatically given a password, so people can't just, you know, jump in as we had previously. So the company has done a very good job of moving very quickly to stop all of these things. So let's get into the Zoom app. So basically, you go onto the Zoom website, you download either onto your desktop, or you have a mobile device, you go to the App Store or the Play Store and you download it and then you install it.
Yeah.
I'm going to show viewers basically a walkthrough of the desktop app.
Okay.
It's almost similar to what you have on the mobile
phone.
So let's just see what you see when you download and install the app. Basically, this is what you're going to get. This is from my laptop. This is just a couple of minutes ago. Basically, this is what you have. You know, you have the timer there telling you the date, and then in that bottom section under the time and the date, you basically have all your meetings that you have scheduled or you have an invitation for. There's a chat function at the top. You can click on that to see the chats that you've been involved in or people have been chatting with you.
Okay.
It has a number of options on the side as well. So you can basically go there, see some of the chats that you have been engaged in. You can set up new ones. You can, based on your contacts, you can set up new chats and things like that. So all of that is available on the platform there. Now this screen basically shows you some of the details in case you want to set up a meeting, the meetings that you have for the day. Almost everybody who sets up a Zoom account has a personal meeting ID.
Okay.
So in case you want to set up a meeting, you have a personal meeting ID. Sometimes it's generated automatically, or you can customize it to suit your own preference.
Okay.
So that is also available. The edit button is there. You can easily do that. So I mean, once these are just the basics of the app, you can see there. And so what I'm saying, and this is the contacts tab. So if you have some contacts that you saved onto the platform, all of them will be displayed here. So you can easily, get in touch with them. So for example, if City TV has a Zoom platform where we want to communicate, I can add as many of us as possible, so it's easier to just quickly connect with someone. So the platform basically gives you can set up a new meeting, you can join a meeting, you can schedule a meeting, and basically that's it. It's or you can share your screen. Now, I wanted us to walk through joining a meeting because, for the purposes of today's session. So let's just say you want to set up a new meeting. So we're just going to click on that and get into setting up a new meeting. There are a number of options that will be available to you. As you can see, you can start off directly by sharing video. It's not everybody who wants to share video. People want to share their profile picture. So that's me. As you can see there, I've activated full screen mode. It will ask you when you start a meeting whether you want to join with a computer audio. Now note that any audio input device will be available to you. So sometimes, like for example, in this video, I have my headset on, so you'll be using a microphone in the headset. If you want to use the microphone in the computer, it will give you that option as well, and I'll be showing viewers all of that. So you can see there, I'm using the computer audio. If I have a special microphone connected to the computer, it will be listed when it's time for me to have my meeting, if I want to use that particular audio. If you have AirPods, it will be there. So as you can see there, you have all these audio input options, as you can see in the bottom there. So when you get to the bottom left side, you can basically see all the audio options. It's just a click away. And you can choose which audio options you want to use. You understand? So basically, that one is available to you. You can see all those options there. Then you can select the speaker, whether you want to use a speaker system in the on the computer, or you have some external speakers. Let's say if we're in an office setting, there are a number of us, you want to use external speakers, you're allowed to do that. So this is a settings tab. This is where a lot of the magic happens. So as you can see there, these are your audio input options. You can set it to be either like very loud or very less sensitive. All of that's available. You can test your microphone, see how good the microphone sounds before. Now this comes back to the issue I was raising about testing, like preparing for a meeting. If you're going for a meeting, you have your notepad, you go make sure the meeting place is set up, chairs are set up, everything. So these processes are very important before you start a Zoom meeting, so that when the meeting starts, you're not now running around trying to find out what you want to do. So this is the video, these are the video settings. You can set it the way you want, and you can set up virtual backgrounds as well, and we'll be getting to the virtual backgrounds, which is a favorite of quite a number of people. So you just go through your video settings, make sure it is just as you want it. For those of you who like your dark themes and your light themes, well, there are options available to you. So quite a number of things that you can use a dual monitor if you have one connected to your computer. You can go full screen right from the beginning. So you just just basically go through the settings, the general settings, make sure everything is as you want it before you invite anybody else into the meeting. And I think it's very, very important that people do that, so that when the meeting starts, you're not scrambling around. So you can check out your chat settings, just to indicate, so when I get a chat notification, how is it supposed to come, etc., etc. Now there's an option to obviously share your screen. So for example, if you're having a class, you want to share the PowerPoint, you can just share that. Now I'll get more into that. So basically, these are the backgrounds that are available by default. You can see some stars there, and you can see some beach and San Francisco's and all of that. So this is basically what it looks like when you set it up. You can see behind me all the beautiful backgrounds. So in case you don't have such a nice background in your house
office or your house,
this is basically what you could use. I like this one because I'm a star like that. So you have this starry background that basically shows it's much easier to manage. We'll continue with the settings. Now, very interesting, the record segment of it or section of it, you can either record onto a cloud, onto the cloud where you can download later and access later, or you can record onto your machine itself. But of course, you need space to be able to do that. Remember, it's a video recording, so obviously it's going to take a little more time. You can set up your profile, change your picture. I will always suggest that you choose a really nice picture, and I'll show you why you need a very good picture for your profile. You can basically see the statistics in terms of what sort of conversation, like how the conversation is going, how much bandwidth you're using, etc., etc. All of that will be displayed here. You can also send the company some feedback. There are some keyboard shortcuts that you might want to use. People like their keyboard shortcuts, so all of that to be available. And so you can do that. Now, the reason why I'm saying that you should use a profile picture, a very nice profile picture, is that there are times when anything can happen in a meeting. Your internet can be bad, someone can be running across, disturbing you, and sometimes you just really don't want to share a video. But it's always nice when you have a good picture to present to everybody else, and in case you don't know how your day is going to go, or who might be barging into the meeting, or someone coming to disturb you, just go with the picture. Don't I look nice? It's much easier. Like if we were having a conversation, we could just switch that on, and it's very easy. Just go to the bottom left section of your screen if you're on desktop, and you can switch it on. It's very simple. Just a tap away. Just switch on to start video, or switch on off to stop the video. And that's basically it. You're good to go. Now there are a number of options at the bottom, where you can share your screen, or you can see the number of participants in a meeting. All of that will be at the bottom of your screen, wherever you are. So you can see the number of participants in the meeting. You can choose whether to mute one person, mute everybody, send a chat to somebody. So as you can see, these are the number of participants. There was just me in the meeting. There are a number of options at the bottom. You can choose whatever you want to do with each participant. Now, sometimes some people come into the meeting, they've turned on their audio, they disturb the meeting. You can basically disable all of that in the settings, such that when people come into the meeting the first time, they are muted. You decide when to put on your microphone. If it is a family meeting, for example, that won't be necessary. But if it's a business meeting and you're probably late for the meeting, it's best to put yourself on mute or something. Or the host will just basically mute everybody who joins the meeting, so that there's a bit of decorum in the session. And so, like I said, at the bottom there are quite a number of options. And one of the options that's really tricky for a number of people is the issue of sharing your screen. Before you decide to share your screen, make sure that it is wholesome material for sharing. Just make sure it's wholesome material. Now, I have a number of things connected to my laptop, so you can see here all these options are available to me. I had WhatsApp open, I had video proc, which is and all manner of things open. So on this screen here, you can see all the input options, or all the things that are connected to your computer that you can share. Now, for example, if I had a PowerPoint presentation, I will be able to choose from here which and what I want to share. You can also share material if they are on your Google Drive, or they are on Box, which are cloud, platforms where you can store stuff. So you can choose whether you want to use your. I have an external screen connected to my laptop, so you can choose which of the screens to share. You can choose to connect your phone or to share material from your phone directly from your laptop. You know, so many options. So you click on display, it will show you, and then once you click on share, that is the one that you can share. I didn't want to share it, so I didn't click to share. But this just basically gives you an overview of all the inputs that you can have and you can share. And so you just choose what you want, and then you share it. Basically, you're good to go. So this screen sometimes can be tricky, but it's very, very important for you to study it and know. Moving on. So basically, this is the general overview of how the app works. There are some emoticons. Sometimes you want to send a thumbs up or you want to send a clap and things like that. All of that is available on the app. Now, once this is ready to go, you are pretty set up to go. You can share the meeting ID with your friends, your family. You can send them an email. It's very, very easy to do, where you give them the ID and the password, and then boom. One thing I like about Zoom is when you want to share, it can connect straight into your Google Calendar, and then it sends the other person an email basically giving them all the details that you need, how they can connect, and how you can join the meeting, and you're pretty good to go.
That's amazing. Yeah. It sounds like a very comprehensively thought through app. Why was there so much fuss, especially from, it seems, the Americans, about Zoom? What was the issue?
The privacy was the core of the issue. Nobody wants to be having a private meeting with somebody, and then all of a sudden, someone jumps into the meeting from nowhere and disturbs them. Nobody wants that. It's like you're having a face-to-face meeting, a one-on-one meeting, you're trying to close a deal, and then someone comes banging a drum or something like that. Nobody wants that. And so it's understandable. In the real world, you don't want people barging into a meeting. In the virtual world, you don't want people barging into a meeting. When your data can be compromised, because you are sharing stuff, and if your computer can be compromised, if your data can be compromised, nobody wants that. There are some theories around, because Eric Juan is partly Chinese, partly American, there are some theories about, all of that. But
possible espionage?
Exactly, because some of the servers and some of the because when Eric started out, actually, a lot of the developers that he used were from China. A lot of the workforce was from China. And so there are a lot of theories about how, people's data is being accessed by the Chinese government and things like that. So there are people who have a few reservations, but all in all, the company did a great thing by moving quickly to put in some of these measures. Now, when you look on your screen, especially when you're using desktop, you will see a button there named security. It wasn't there initially. It's now there because of all the added security measures. You can see now, initially there was end-to-end encryption. It's been made much better now. So a lot of things have happened and have caused people to have reservations. But I feel that, this app has been able to move very quickly, to reassure the people who use the platform. Some people still don't use it. A lot of American companies don't use it, but it's understandable. You have a number of options. You have WebEx, you have Skype and things like that, Google Hangouts. So, it's fine.
I've used Zoom. I like Zoom. All right. Thank you very much, Philip Kofi-Ashaw, for that in-depth, detailed understanding of utilizing it. Now you see all the different things that you can make do with it. So up next we have we're going to be talking to Dr. Kelvin Owusu about some health conditions that typically will come up during this time when the rains have started. But before we do that, let's take a look at the entertainment highlights.
Welcome to Entertainment Highlights. My name is Atokwame Nsuman-Ment. Bisa Kede has apologized for tweeting that the media has taken money not to play his songs. A few days ago, he tweeted during a Q&A session with his fans on Twitter that the media had taken money to kill his songs. Bisa, please, why the media didn't pay attention to your music? Because me, I don't understand. Why? Because your music is more than. The tweet asked. In his reply, Bisa Kede wrote, "It is an agenda. They have taken some money to do that. If you love my music, keep loving it. The media is fake. Since the story broke, he has been heavily lambasted by the general public, especially for making such a general statement that cannot be substantiated. Speaking to the matter on Hits FM, Daybreak Hits, he apologized by saying that the tweet was put up by his personal assistant. Actors Kojo and Cancer Lil Wayne and Yao Dabo have incurred the wrath of some Ghanaians after they filmed themselves shedding tears for the late Bishop Bernard Nyak. After the news of the actor's demise broke on the 2nd of May, the two Kumasi-based showbiz personalities released videos which captured them weeping profusely as they mourned their colleague. In separate videos that have gone viral, Yao Dabo was seated upright in a casual outfit, wailing while Lil Wayne, clad in funeral apparel, sat on the floor. In the case of Lil Wayne, he uploaded his 8-minute video on YouTube. The said video has garnered over 180,000 views and is expected to bring the comic actor some revenue from the content. The two actors have been labeled hypocrites and opportunists for taking advantage of the unfortunate incident. Manifest has already released a new song that has already gotten music lovers and pundits talking. The song was released on Saturday, the 2nd of May, titled No Long Talk. In the meantime, some have wondered who the song is directed to. Some have suggested that the line rappers 10 IG models might be a jab at Sarkodie.
Lockdown has put a padlock on any new love, but by early May, LMA, I might be booed up. Nip tuck, go operation on any sick bub. By June, dear, all one affairs go be zipped up. Even off the top, they cannot top us. Don't compare me to wave hoppers and name droppers. Search through the rubble, the game needs a remodel. Them no be rappers, them be IG model. The game is a brothel, everybody want chopping.
And that's all for entertainment highlights for Breakfast Daily.
Pay app. More social, more power, more services. Experience a cooler way of payments with exciting new features. Want to go social? Upload a cool image to add a personal feel to your account. Payments are even more seamless with an enhanced process. Mark some accounts as favorites so they are super easy to access. Even cooler, view payment due dates and check remaining balances for your favorite accounts. Want to repeat a payment? Do that right from the History tab. Have all your money in one place with a sleek look and feel. Bank Direct has had an awesome makeover. You can now send money instantly to 22 banks and counting. Express Pay. Payments simplified.
Welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily on CCTV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the rainy season is almost here, so we have to discuss ailments that come with the season, and Dr. Kelvin will also help us understand 4 of them. If you have any questions for him, let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily, or you can reach out to us directly via our WhatsApp line 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Of course, Dr. Kelvin also is the medical director of Optima Care Diagnostics. Good morning, Doc. Dr. Kelvin.
Good morning, Jiva. How are you?
Oh wow, you're wearing your stuff today. I like it.
Yeah, today is a full regalia day.
Now, the rainy season, how important is it for us to prepare for it health-wise before we get into the ailments of that season?
Well, I mean, as with every time, there are times and seasons, and they keep changing in between them. And so, well, the rains are here, and if you live in Accra, you know that the rains come with flooding and other associated things. So this is the time to make sure that everything that you own is above the flood line, if possible, or at least you get some insurance in case there's a flood, you are covered. It's very important. I mean, once the rains are here, so we have to make sure that we are as prepared as we possibly can.
Nice. Now let's walk through. What's the first one?
Well, the first one I want to start with is cholera. And this is because cholera is something that has been with us for a while. And it's not supposed to be, because we know the solution to this cholera issue. But unfortunately, every single year, we have outbreaks of cholera of varying severity. And so once the rains have come in, we know that cholera is going to also pick up its head. And particularly in these times of coronavirus, it makes it a bit more challenging, because already a lot of the hospitals are working with limited staff to reduce. I mean, social distancing also applies in hospitals, and so a lot of the staff are working from home pretty much. And so, if there should be a cholera outbreak, it can really cause a lot of damage, and so we have to try as much as possible to prevent that from happening. And so I'll come back to the specifics, but related to cholera is also typhoid. Typhoid is also a disease that goes up when the rains come. And both of these diseases, cholera and typhoid, we call them fecal-oral transmission. In other words, and I'm going to be a bit graphic because sometimes I have to be graphic to make your point.
Please go ahead. We don't mind at all.
If you are infected with typhoid or cholera, it literally means that you have eaten somebody's food. That's what it means. I mean, there's no way to make it sound any nicer. You've literally eaten somebody's food. And the reason why these two conditions are so prevalent in our situation is because we still have people living in slums. We still have people who don't have access to potable water. We still have people who don't have access to a WC or a human excreta waste disposal system that is closed. And so we have so many people who are still doing open defecation. And the thing is that once you do open defecation, or once you defecate into a water body, or even around a water body, even if it's far from water body, once the rains have come, it's going to carry all of those things and put them right into the rivers, and the rivers are going to flow all through the country, from wherever they are to wherever they end, and all the people along that line are going to get affected. Imagine that you in your house, you have potable water, you have a closed human waste disposal system, but somebody living somewhere is defecating into the open water. Now you go in that area. Somebody has gone to cook in the open. Now the water is going to be transmitted into the cooking area. The person cooking the food doesn't wash their hands well. It's going to affect you, even though you are protected in quotes. So it's really a community problem that we have to find a solution to. Otherwise, it's going to be with us for a very long time to come.
Okay, so Doc, as we are already in the rainy season, what are some, behavioral changes we would need to make in order to avoid cholera?
So again, thanks to coronavirus, we are already doing some of the protective things already. For instance, we are washing our hands more frequently now, and we are using the hand sanitizer, which is good because it's going to kill the bacteria, and it's going to kill the bacteria are the causative agents of the cholera and typhoid. So once you wash your hands frequently, you are going to reduce the risk of infecting yourself. So that's a very, very good point there. But we still have to make sure that we are keeping our environment clean, and that we make sure that our food is well cooked. Because if you use contaminated water to prepare your food, especially if the food is fresh, so for instance, you're going to eat the fruit, you take the fruit and you use just any water to wash that fruit. Even though you think you have cleaned the fruit, you're actually contaminating the fruit. And so once you eat that fruit, you're going to infect yourself. And so you may have washed your hands all right, you may have washed the fruit all right, but you didn't use the right water. And so you're going to infect yourself. So if the food is fresh, we must make sure that the water that we are using to wash that, either the fruit or vegetable, is actually potable water. when I say potable water, I mean water that is clean of all these bacteria, all these contaminants, so that you can actually ensure that what you are taking into your body is clean enough. If you are going to eat food, make sure that the food you are eating is hot food, and must be protected from house flies, because the house fly may settle on some of these things, some of these human excreta that have been deposited all over the place, and then come and settle on your food. And so we must make sure that our food is protected from house flies or any other flies for that matter, so that they don't then introduce the bacteria into what we are eating. So these mechanisms can help reduce the incidence of cholera and typhoid. Of course, ultimately the country, the state has to also take responsibility and make sure that everybody has access to potable water, as well as a closed human excreta treatment facility. In other words, a WC, a water closet, or a KVIP or any similar gadget that's available for that purpose.
Okay, so we've settled the first two cases. What are the other ailments we need to look out for as we are bracing the rainy season?
Old flu. And now today, flu is one of the most scary things out there because of coronavirus again. And because now you cannot tell the difference between a common cold or the flu we've been getting every year from coronavirus. And so we are going to have a situation where the cost of treatment is going to go up. And what I mean is, everybody who comes into the hospital with a flu is going to require that the staff are going to put on PPE. It's going to require that they're going to screen this person for coronavirus. And so it's going to be a challenge. But protection or prevention is better than cure. And so the health workers are going to have to protect themselves for any case that comes in that is suspicious, even though it could just be a common cold. And there's not much we can do about it, because once the temperature drops, it brings with it increased incidence of common cold, But in these times of coronavirus, you cannot differentiate between the two. And so once you yourself feel the symptoms of headache, a runny nose, general weakness, loss of appetite, all those things, it could be a common cold, but it could also be coronavirus. And so once you notice these symptoms, isolate yourself, call the corona helpline, and then they'll take you through the appropriate questionnaires. And then if there's a need to do the test, you do the test. And then if you are negative for corona, then the supportive treatment for the ordinary cold can be given for you. However, having said that, because we are washing our hands more frequently, we are wearing the face mask, and we are using the hand sanitizer, it is also possible that the incidence of common cold will go down, because we are already putting measures to prevent the spread. And these are the same measures that are also used in preventing coronavirus. So corona could be an advantage in these days that we are in these days, with respect to the three diseases we're speaking about already.
Okay, so as far as the flu is concerned, are there any steps? I mean, we know we're doing our best to ensure we don't catch COVID, but what more can we do to ensure that we stay free from flu as well? So essentially, it's about avoiding contact. So if you yourself have a cold, you have to, as much as possible, try to avoid going out into public places, avoid interacting with people, avoid shaking hands, which you're already doing. And then if you know somebody who has a cold, you have to avoid making contact with that person. You have to make sure that you are distant from him or her when you're having to interact with him. Social distance, at least 1 meter between you and that person. If the person is coughing, you have to go back about 2 meters, so that when the person coughs, and the sputum or the droplets do not fall on you. Of course, you must make sure that you are wearing your mask. And now the mask is going to become a part of our daily life. You have to wear your mask. It's very, very important that you wear your mask. And the mask, it provides a double protection. If I wear my mask and I have no symptoms, I'm protected from the droplets coming into contact with my face, with my mouth and nose. If you have symptoms and you're also wearing a mask, if you cough, the droplets are trapped inside the mask. And so there's a double protection that the mask provides. If only one person is wearing the mask and everybody else is coughing, the protection is not as solid as if both parties are wearing the mask. So wearing the mask will help us reduce the incidence of common cold as well. Okay, so when it comes to flu, especially since we've been told that if you have symptoms of COVID, stay home and call the health practitioners to come to you, what should we do when we start seeing symptoms of a flu?
Okay, so as I said in the beginning, it is difficult to tell the difference between the flu and corona. You cannot tell. until the test has been done. So that's what I meant when I said that the cost of treatment is going to go up, because everybody who has a cold and reports to the hospital or calls the corona helpline is going to probably have to do screening for corona. It is only after coronavirus has been ruled out, has been declared negative, that you will then be treated. And so you cannot tell the difference. There's no difference. The same headache having could be a common cold, it could also be corona. The runny nose could be a common cold or it could be corona. The cough could be common cold or corona. So you cannot tell the difference between the two based on symptoms alone. You have to run the blood test to determine that it is not coronavirus. And if indeed it is not coronavirus, then the treatment for common cold can be done appropriately.
Okay, now we've gone through the first three. So we've done typhoid, we've done flu, we've also done cholera. What's the fourth one that we need to look out for in this rainy season?
So the fourth one is rheumatism, but rheumatism is not really, there's no disease called rheumatism. Rheumatism is an old term actually for any form of inflammation of the joint. So if you have any form of arthritis, it could be rheumatoid arthritis, could be anything, any form of pain in any of the joints can be defined as rheumatism. You know, and over the period, a lot of our grandmothers have been associating cold weather with rheumatism. Now, historically, because there has been, in the past, there was the sickle cell incidence was very, very high, you know, because, now we know how to lower sickle cell by avoiding, maybe if you have SS, you don't marry an SS person, even though it's a personal decision and all those things. But back in the day, there was no such information. And there were lots of people in the population. And sickle cell disease, multiple crisis, is triggered by temperature, extremes of temperature. If the temperature drops too low or goes too high, they can't get into crisis. And one of the commonest crises that sickle cell patients do get is actually bone pain. And so once the temperature drops, so for instance, it's raining, especially when the rain beats you and then you are cold, it could trigger a sickle cell crisis, which can present as pain in the joint. And so historically, that is where that term rheumatism came from, especially its association with cold weather. And so if you're a sickle cell person, in these times when the temperature keeps dropping, you have to protect yourself, because it could trigger a crisis situation. And that crisis could, it could be disastrous. And so you must wear appropriate clothing. You must not expose yourself too much to the weather. If it's raining and you can avoid going out, don't go out at all. Make sure you're wearing your cardigans or your pullovers. Make sure you are warm so that you protect yourself from crisis. And you have to drink a lot of water as well, and not too cold water. The water shouldn't be too cold. It doesn't necessarily have to be warm water too, but just okay water is okay for you. So lots of water. Take your vitamins, and sickle cell patients are expected to take their vitamins all the time. And so make sure that this is not the time to be missing your doses. Take your vitamins. If you have to go for a review, make sure you are protecting yourself. Wear your mask, because sickle cell patients are also at an increased risk of catching coronavirus, because their immune system is already a bit on the downside. And so they need to take extra precautions, even with respect to this coronavirus that we are discussing. But generally speaking, there's no relationship between arthritis and cold weather. In other words, cold weather does not necessarily cause your pain to get any worse, except you have sickle cell disease or a similar disease condition.
Okay, so we're now going to look at some of the changes we have to make in our behavior to ensure we don't catch it. Like perhaps if we eat out a lot, what are some of the signs we should look out for? You mentioned clean water. How do we check that the water we're about to drink from our tap is actually clean enough for us to drink them? But if you guys have any questions for Dr. Kelvin Owusu, we want to know, so send them to us with the hashtag BreakfastDaily. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can just comment down below. If you want to reach us directly, our WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. So Dr. Kelvin, how do we change certain behavioral patterns that we've gotten used to ensure that we don't catch cholera, typhoid, and all the other diseases?
Okay, so after I said in the beginning, because of coronavirus, a lot of the changes that we need to make, particularly the hand washing, we are washing our hands more frequently, and everybody who's watching me today has recognize the importance of hand washing. Hand washing with soap and running water cannot be overemphasized. Not only will it prevent you from catching coronavirus, it will also prevent you from catching the flu, catching typhoid and cholera as well. So hand washing, very, very important. Avoid eating with dirty hands, avoid eating with unclean hands, because that's very, very dangerous. And with respect to buying food from outside, it will be, of course, if you get to the food vendor's place and you see a lot of flies there, walk away. Don't buy that food. If that food vendor is selling next to a gutter, you need to advise yourself. If the water that is you can see the water you can actually see is dirty, you need to avoid that place. However, at the core of the matter is that the responsibility falls squarely at the metropolitan and municipal directorate, because they are supposed to license all food vendors. And by giving a food vendor a license, what you are telling us, the public, is that the person selling the food is healthy, the water they are using to serve the food is good water, and the environment that they are serving the food in is appropriate environment. And so once we see that this food vendor is duly licensed, then you can confidently go and buy from that person. But you yourself must also take your personal responsibility. When you get there, in spite of the fact that there's a license there, you need to make sure that the surroundings are clean, there are no flies running around or no flies making contact with the food. Because once that is happening, you are going to expose yourself to typhoid and cholera and other things that we didn't talk about today. So personal responsibility is very important. Of course, in these days of social distancing, if you get to the vendor's place and there's a long queue, everybody is tightly packed in that space, you have to avoid it. Go away, because you might buy the food all right, but you're going to leave with coronavirus as well, because they are still in the coronavirus season.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelvin Owusu, for being with us and helping us appreciate the 4 ailments we should look out for as far as the rainy season is concerned. So there you have it. It's important that you take personal responsibility for your health and ensure that you keep to the safety rules. Doc, where do we follow you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook, Kelvin Owusu MD, and then you can also find me on Instagram with the same name, Kelvin Owusu MD. Oh, no more Nase Poku. Well, you can also type Nase Poku, you find me there, but I like the background of your house, by the way, wherever you are. Maybe you're in the office, but it's beautiful. Really nice words of encouragement there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us, Doc. I think you are home for staying. Don't go anywhere. Breakfast Daily will be right back.
If you can get all the understanding on some of the difficult subjects you struggle with in school. As a student, do you feel dissatisfied with how hard it is to figure out the subjects you're learning? Or as a parent or guardian, do you worry that your child is struggling to understand some of the subjects in school? Well, now you don't need to sign up for extra lessons or tutors. Simply tune in to Class Act, Mondays to Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. on City TV. Class Act is a show that seeks to enable senior high school students gain a much better understanding of what they learn in school. All you need is a TV, a chair, your notebook, and your pen. Get clarity on subjects such as maths, English, IT, and science. Class Act airs every Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on City TV, on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. Don't forget your pens, pencils, and your notebooks, and tune in to Class Act, only on City TV.
Ghana is a beautiful country. There is so much of it you probably haven't seen, haven't experienced, haven't touched, haven't felt, haven't eaten. When this is all over, let's discover our land again with new eyes. Let's feel each other again. We are one people, brought together by destiny. Let's make that count. Let's show love for each other and our environment. Let's tell our stories, and let's watch and listen to our stories. There will be so much to tell. Ghana is a truly beautiful country. Be Ghana, stay in Ghana, experience Ghana, make Ghana great. And we will invite the world to come and experience Ghana too. But for now, stay home. Brought to you by the National Film Authority, supports the Stay Home and Discover Ghana Later campaign. This channel supports the campaign.
God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily on CCTV. Thank you guys so much for staying with us.
Yeah. Well, it was a good conversation. I enjoyed that. Yeah, and I think that at this time, the race have actually started already, you know, so it's good to know, you know, what COVID-19 is, you know, changed everything for all of us. So it's good to know some of the things to look out for and so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah, so
definitely
good conversations there.
Yeah, and it's, you know, COVID is a blessing in disguise, because all the things that we used to have to force ourselves to do, they've become natural to us now, like actually washing your hands with running water and soap, maintaining social distancing, which I thought was going to be impossible in this country because we don't have any respect for personal space. There's no such thing like personal space. Because even when you want your personal space, people look at you like, what's wrong?
Yes,
so
exactly.
We've succeeded at it. A big happy birthday to Otumfuo Osei Tutu. He turned 70 today.
Absolutely, yes. And a big happy birthday to you.
Yes, guys. I'm still receiving my gifts.
Yeah,
okay, so
we are receiving the gifts.
So keep them coming.
Let me have a birthday message here. This is from Victoria, who's one of our directors here. She says, happy birthday to Mr. Samuel Ajiman of Ports, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. May God continue to bless you on this special day onwards. From your daughter, Victoria.
Aww, that's her mom. I think so.
No.
It's not.
Her dad.
Oh, her dad. Yeah. It's a man. Oh. Okay, happy birthday to Vicky's dad. We share birthdays, so it's good. But guys, go ahead.
So this afternoon, COVID-19 special coverage. It's coming on 3 p.m. Don't miss it. It's one of our favorite shows that we have here.
Yes.
Breaking it all down, what's happening in COVID-19.
You get the perspective of the world, Africa, Ghana, and once you're done with the show, you're actually at ease because you know more than anything else, and you're not paranoid. And of course, if you want to find out more information on the status of COVID, you can just go on to www.citynewsroom.com/coronavirus.
Yep. Okay. So remember, mask it. If you're going to step out, carry your mask, put on your mask. Make sure you put a barrier between you and anybody else. You heard what Dr. Calvin was saying. It's very, very important. And let's do this together. Let's do this together. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jifa. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Jifa.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting this.
Are we taking the pictures? She's still. But I have to tell you something. This is exactly what AJ did to me the first time I met AJ ever. This is what she did to me. It was on a different station, different show. I was a guest, and guess who walks in with a birthday cake? I think this person is.
Guys, come in, Angela. Everybody come in.
Yeah, Michael, come.
Come, everybody.
Yeah.
You're an amazing person, so I wanted to celebrate you.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Social distancing. Thank you guys so much, and thank you guys at home for being with us. I wouldn't be here without all of you guys, and I'm really, really touched by this. And thank you guys
we're
so
touched.
much.
We're touched.
Enjoy your day.
Have a fantastic day. We're going to jump into the cake. Enjoy your day.
Bye.